All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. Yes, this is Eric Lovely, and I'm speaking to everyone who's out there in the glorious listening land of Oracle Radio Broadcasting, Rinse Radio, and also the individuals who happen to be over at the Next News Network. Well, and also, I don't want to, detract from the degenerates who are listening as well, and they know who you are, and you know who you are. They'd be the individuals who, they just pretty much stand around with a thumb up their crack and, don't really do anything but bash people. Lots of people call them trolls and things of that nature, but they're really just degenerates. They don't have anything solid going on. They can't produce anything themselves. Some people are always chasing glitz, glamour, highlight reels in their own mental mind, building statues to themselves. But that's okay. And I definitely want to start out by saying that advice given by people. A lot of people have asked me questions about many different things, many different topics. For those of you who are truly interested in survival and being able to grow healthy crops and be able to do things of that nature, I hope that you take notes and you steer clear of idiots who have no clue what they're doing and basically wake up every morning with their head jammed so far up their rear that they don't know what's going on. But as far as one of the beginning topics for today, people were talking about the OPPT. And a lot of people have asked me questions on OPPT. Now, I think it's OPPT, that's a O, two P's, and a T, .org, I'm pretty sure, is the website. And, a lot of people were talking about the UCC filings. They were talking about an attempt to basically terminate existing governments because they're corporations. And terminate their power structure and everything they have through a UCC filing. Well, the problem is, one of the very first problems that I want people to understand is that, well, not really a problem. They're correct in their assessment of who these government organizations are. They are, I don't know how exactly to put it. Their overall assessment is correct. Your municipalities and all these things are corporations, and they are filed members and registered members with the UCC. However, here's the problem: the UCC is backed by the International Criminal Court, okay, which is a corporation in itself. And it's actually, it has shareholders, which are most of the royalty left on the planet, the Queen of England, Queen of the Netherlands, the office of the Pope. Now that there is no Pope in the office, there are a few people who, the Club of Rome, individuals united into the Club of Rome. And these individuals, they're not going to enforce anything. And the OPPT information and the people who are organizing it, they claim that they speak for everyone, which is a difficult thing for me to digest, because I don't really know exactly what to tell you on the fact that they attempt to speak for everyone, except for that it's not possible. Now, them as a group can lay an injunction on someone or a corporate entity. And by doing so, the impact or foreclosure on that entity can affect everyone. Okay? So in other words, if they actually could get foreclosure status on a specific municipality or the White House, okay, and it actually went through and it actually took place, now that could impact everyone because that entity would no longer exist. However, they can't roll into any type of court and say that they speak for everyone, which is some of the information that's on their site, which is fairly misleading. And they say that everyone who is on the face of the planet, is a member. Well, no, I guess the more correct terminology would be that you could have the opportunity to be a member. You can have open enrollment Okay, and everyone can understand what that means. Anyone who wants to roll, anyone who wants to become a part, could do so if you so chose. Now, beyond that, I can't really say too much about, I'm trying to handle the specifics that people have asked me questions about. But first and foremost, everyone is not included. Okay, you have to actually become a party to that organization or to that group yourself. You can't watch a video and say, "Oh, that's me. I'm part of that." You have to actually enroll and become a member. What their ultimate goal is, I have no idea. But see, here's the biggest thing. Here's enforcement. Here is the very first thing that you have to recognize about anyone or anything attempting to do away with corporate rule, corporate government, corporate anything, okay, is enforcement. So if you don't really have an army or a militia or a police force, you don't have your own court system. You don't have anything. Okay, you cannot enforce something upon someone. You cannot create an action of law if you do not have a lawful body to take them to. Okay, to create the actual court case. You see, these are the things that people are missing out. Before you start listening to anyone, the very first thing you need to think about is enforcement. And people can call in and talk about it. They can ask about anything they want, but here's the reality. Whenever you get something or you get some action that's taking place, first you're going to have a place to try the event. Well, if you're doing away with all fiduciaries and all of these corporate existences and corporate lifestyle, well, you have to have some court that you can represent that case in. You cannot claim to be dismantling the court that you're standing in and then expect it to be an enforcement situation from that very same court. You're either dismantling it where it will no longer exist, okay, or you are simply, it just seems ludicrous, really. Because the court system is going to evaporate into thin air if they listen to you, and then there's no enforcement side of it. So what agencies or what individuals is it that there's actually going to claim enforcement of the ruling? And who's going to make the ruling? If you claim that they have no authority, and that you are a private individual and a private entity, then you need a private individual, private entity enforcement situation. So, this is really, really what you need to look at when, when you actually look at the situation. And for those of you wondering, no, it's only every other Thursday. Okay, but yeah, people just I think that people need to really need to analyze any type of action that's being taken place from the enforcement aspect. And within your own court systems right now, as you look at the judicial system within America and you look at how it's structured and how it works, there's no enforcement for you. There is only enforcement for them. Your local municipalities and police forces, that's basically, not all municipalities are police forces, but when you look at the local police, well, they don't answer to you. They answer to another corporate entity. And so if you really, we'll talk a little more about this after this. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about was, as we talk about this OPPT individuals or site, whatever they're doing. I think it's rather interesting that most people don't really tune in to the enforcement aspect. Okay, if you can't enforce something, then it doesn't hold any water. Okay, you can print anything you want, you can type anything you want. It's kind of like some of the people in the chat room. They just, or in any chat room, or in any post of blogs, or in anywhere you go. It's just a bunch of chicken heads running around squawk boxing. Okay, they heckle. That's what they do. And the OPPT seems like a very similar thing. Okay, it's just a bunch of squawking. It's a bunch of text on the screen. Another version of it to maybe bring it home to people would be the whole internet tough guy. They sit around behind their keyboard, they run off at the mouth. They try to provoke people. They want to get an emotional response, get under your skin. And the OPPT people, they're taking donations and funding. Now, I cannot say whether or not there is something illegitimate going on there, whether they're stealing people's money. I can't tell you exactly what's going on. However, they are taking money. And when you start looking at these kinds of things, you really need to be careful, because anybody can, I can sit here and say, well, even though I know that the law is correct, that Obama or the White House or any number of people in Congress, okay, that they're committing acts of treason. Now, I can claim that I've convicted them, but if you can't actually enforce that upon them, what good is it? I mean, what does it really do? It doesn't really do anything for anyone. Which is the same thing as the internet tough guy. He just sits there and runs off at the mouth. He may sit around the house and smack his wife around or something, but really he's just, as far as being in an internet chat room or on a message board, he or she is really just running off at the mouth. And because there's nothing there to back it up. There's no substance there. Okay, they aren't actually going to take action. They wouldn't say or do the same things when face to face with someone. Okay, they hide behind a keyboard. Okay, it's all about emotional ploys, and I can't guarantee that that's what the OPPT is. Of course, I can't guarantee that they're not. Now, they make lots of claims and they make filings and they give you things for you to think. So basically, whether or not these forms are going to work for you. Now, this is really what you need to pay attention to. They have forms and things for you to download and utilize. I want you to be very careful for all those of you who are reading that site, because I can tell you that the forms that I've looked at are legal documents, and they are making legalese statements. And you could get yourself in so many ways. You could get yourself in trouble. Okay, you really could. So the biggest thing you need to do is be careful and understand what it is that you're reading. If you're not experienced in legalese, because most of the website is tangled up in legalese, it's not really English. And so with everything that you need and everything that you're going to attempt to enact when you start utilizing these documents, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. And if they don't hold water, and if they don't have some type of true actionable and factionable relevance, okay, if they don't have actual legal standing, then you could be in a whole nother heap and load of trouble. You could be backing yourself in a corner, agreeing to certain things, agreeing to certain clauses under the UCC, agreeing to any number of things within their legal system that could wind up backfiring and blowing up in your face. It's kind of like becoming friends with the specific individuals and then them turning out to not be what you thought they were, or to something along that nature. That thing it can backfire on you, and it can hurt you. These legal documents that they're putting out for you to use is the same exact thing. And that's what you need to do. You need to be very, very careful about what it is that you're signing with your signature and who you're sending it to and why you're sending it. And you better be 100% sure that you know what the documentation does for you or against you or for them. You need to examine it in every way, shape, or form. And so the biggest thing you really want to do is you really want to start learning legalese. And that is the biggest thing here with this particular website and with this group. If you aren't familiar with legalese, you really need to make some serious sense of the actual legalese and what's going on. Now, as far as what you're going to do and what the process is that you're going to do, I would still stand behind my original solutions. And my original solutions would be building your own communities, removing yourself from the trade environment, removing yourself from the fiat dollar environment, and creating your own networks for resources and supplying your life. These are the things that are actually going to work, building for a better tomorrow. All of this paper pushing back and forth really isn't going to do a whole lot for you. But we'll be right back after these messages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. As the commercial breaks seem to be quicker and quicker these days, or maybe it's because I'm distracted more and more. Someone did ask a question, and the real answer, this is the thing that people don't want to hear, and they don't want to know. It's because really the community and creating your own militia is the only solution. The court system, the police state, is erected to stop any actions. This is the big thing that people don't understand. The corporations have an army. The corporations have police force. The corporations have courts. Okay, they have enforcement capability, for right or for wrong. They have enforcement capability. And you do not have enforcement capability. For all these people who run their mouths and, they think that somehow they're a big shot or somehow they're somebody. They have no enforcement capability. They're just internet blubbers, they just run around on the internet. They have nothing in real life to produce that someone can see, someone can touch, and is tangible. People are putting a lot of faith into the sheriffs who are saying that they're not going to go along with X, Y, or Z. Well, the only way that the sheriffs are going to be able to stand up to the federal government is if the local individuals protect those sheriffs. And I mean protect them with force of arms. Okay, we can cut right to the skinny chase, and this is what we can talk about right here. Okay, because it really boils down to enforcement. Your sheriff cannot enforce the Constitution for you against the federal government without you. Okay? He is going to need his own posse, militia for the correct terminology. And that is the only way. And if they want you bad enough, they're going to come and they're going to use force, okay? Which is bullets, death, destruction, these kinds of things. If you cannot meet that same destruction with equal destruction, okay, then you have no opportunity, you have no chance of making anything happen. And everybody wants to talk about, they always bring up Gandhi, okay? Gandhi did all these things peacefully. Well, really, he had, reasonable deniability for his secret police that he had running around doing the different things that he needed to get done, which took violence and force so that he could maintain this image of peace. Also, when the activities of Gandhi were taking place, if you actually go and look at the logistical workup of where Gandhi went to, he went down to the water and he went to the other places that he did, and the soldiers just looked on. Well, it's because there were hundreds of thousands of civilians standing there. Okay? Gandhi was doing his thing. You had a few thousand soldiers and so forth, and they were outnumbered hundreds to one. Okay? They didn't have enough bullets to kill everybody that was standing around. Therefore, they had no enforcement ability. They could make noise, they could kill a lot of people, but ultimately, the soldiers would have been ripped limb from limb by a mob, a massive mob of unarmed people. I mean, they literally just simply would have overran them. This is what made Gandhi accomplish what he did. He had enforcement ability. This is what you lack. you lack enforcement ability. And in the state of a free world and understanding what the actual Second Amendment means, the Second Amendment is all about your enforcement ability. It is about the citizens, the actual individual citizens' ability to enforce their freedom. So, this is really the big issue here when everybody is clamoring for solutions. Well, the biggest solution is that you need enforcement ability. And we're going to bring on, the one and only, as soon as he picks up here, let us see if he is going to join us. All right, Charlie McGrath is here finally with us for the second half of the first hour. And, Charlie, now that you're here, I'm going to bring up the speed real quick. I talked a little bit about OPPT, which is an organization attempting to use the UCC to turn off the government power and things of that nature. And everybody's really looking for solutions, and I'm talking about solutions as a blanket. And it's really about, it really boils down to your ability to enforce your demands, your opinions, whatever it is that you need done. The natural common law, if that is your avenue you want to go. If you want to enforce anything, okay, or you want to maintain your freedom. As I said before Charlie jumped on, that people really need to understand that's what the Second Amendment is all about. The Second Amendment was thought up, derived, created, and utilized because it gave the civilian population enforceability. In other words, they had the ability to create militias, to create their own small community armies and police forces, and enforce their freedom. In other words, they can enforce the freedom of law and liberty for their neighbors against anyone who chose to challenge it. But since we don't have that now, and people want to talk about all these different solutions that they can come up with, none of your solutions are going to work. It's why Tim Turner and company, and it's why, Oath Keepers and all of these individuals who run around flapping off at the gums on the internet, they have no enforcement ability. It's like me. I live by a certain way, and I can only enforce my own existence by the extent of my own training, weaponry, and heart to stay the course. If others join me, then it increases my enforceability of the natural law. So really that's what it boils down to, it boils down to your ability to enforce whatever decision or solution you come up with. If you have no group, if you're not working together, if you haven't made communities, if you don't have, it's like gold and silver as money versus fiat dollars. If you don't actually generate a community to trade with, if you don't actually generate a system to exchange precious metals and to extract goods for the exchange of precious metals, then you have no enforceability. It is useless. Okay? This is reality that people understand. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, it sounds like if we're talking about the Second Amendment, like you mentioned, obviously that the Second Amendment. What's going on there? I hear what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You're trying to bait me in, aren't you, Eric?
No, a piece of plastic.
Oh, okay. It's a little game Eric and I once in a while play. We'll try to guess the caliber by working in action on a particular arm that we might be having at our side. And I thought that's what you were doing. No, the Second Amendment obviously was not what we're being told it was about. We're being told that it was put in to the Constitution for hunting or sporting or shooting sports or that kind of thing. It was absolutely put in to protect us from tyrannical government, period. That's it. I'm more than confident with the reading that I've read on the thoughts that went in to the Second Amendment that it is 100% for when the government is going to use the exact same tactic in order to force you to capitulate, that you can enforce your God-given rights. That's it. All authority is at the barrel of a gun. All authority, regardless if it's is something as mundane as a parking violation. The ultimate authority, the ultimate way they would enforce any kind of action against you is with a gun. And that might sound ridiculous, but if you play anything out when if you're facing a tyrannical government, it inevitably take it to the nth degree. If you say no, I will not comply, no, I will not comply over and over, and you will get to the point that somebody's going to pull a gun on you. So it's obvious that
I definitely agree, but you see, here's the big thing that the public really doesn't get is it works the same in reverse. If you say
that's what I was about to. That's about what I was about to get into, which is it works the same. Yes, it works in reverse as well. If you want to maintain your freedom, then our forefathers has given us a method to do so, and that is why this is why we have this Second Amendment debate right now. It is because they understand that there's a number of people that would be better off, at least as far as the powers that be are concerned, to not have that ability to defend themselves and to force their freedom back onto their oppressive dictators that we see rising every day higher and higher. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio. Just a minute, hang tight. All right, guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, Eric Lovely, the final segment of this first hour. Coming up, hour number 2, Sybil Edmonds is going to be on, so hang around for that. It's going to be full of information. Incredible woman, incredible story, incredible life she's lived. We're going to talk about that. All right, Eric had said to me, he sent me this the other day. He couldn't make it Tuesday because he had to take care of family stuff. HR 347. And I alluded that we were going to talk about this tonight, Eric, a little bit last night, because you were the first one to send it to me, and then I had 3 other people send it to me. And I remember doing videos on this bill, this can't protest, even if you're not even aware that you're in a so-called zone that whatever the language is in it. If you're on federal grounds and you're disrupting government at all, you're basically committing a felony. But this was in 2012 and 2011, 2012, and I couldn't see anything new to it. But I was really anxious to hear your take on it.
Well, I think that some of the biggest things that people really need to understand is that American law, okay, everybody wants to talk about this Constitution, and they want to talk about their constitutional rights. Well, American law really, the natural common law encompasses several pieces of documents, okay, and it's not just the Constitution. The very first actual lawful document that represents law, actual law in the nation known as America, not in the United States, but in the nation known as America, the United States of America, the Declaration of Independence is the first structured piece of law that you can actually look at, that was provided by the populace in common tongue English, not in legalese. It was actually provided for you to be able to understand, comprehend, consume, and utilize it. Right. And the problem with this document is that, yes, it took place before. Some of the definitions for certain things were adjusted in January. And I do need to find that adjustment before we really get too in-depth talking about it, because I want to be able to cite it for people to look at it.
Yeah, and I apologize for putting you on the spot. Eric and I had not spoke yesterday or today, and he didn't know I was going to just toss him.
I don't even really need to go that far, because here, basically, this particular document, when you read it, it overturns the Declaration of Independence in every fashion possible, because the Declaration of Independence granted or endowed the idea that a people or population had the right to disrupt the functions of government to the point of termination of that government and the erection of new government. Okay? This particular document actually forbids that. It creates that as a criminal offense. Now, the reason why I really wanted to talk about that section is because this is an act of treason. This is an open and shut act of treason. You take it to court if you had a court that would hear your case. Now, knowingly and willingly, and with the intent to impede or disrupt the orderly conduct of government business or official functions, engages in disorderly or disruptive conduct in or with such proximity to any restricted building or grounds when or so that such conduct in fact impedes or distributes the orderly conduct of government business or official functions. Now, the reason why that's was 1752 dot restricted building grounds. That is subsection 2 of section A. And I don't know if you've provided the PDF into the chat room for people to actually read
No,
it.
I will right now, though. I will right now.
But that is that I just read that whole entire thing. Now, here's what that means. And people don't understand really what that means. If, let's say, next month, Congress wants to say that flu shots are now a mandatory thing, and everybody in America has to be vaccinated. And you say no. What have you done? You've disrupted the orderly conduct and business functions of the government. Okay? So you have instantly committed a felony and could get from 10 to 15 years. If you say no, you're not going to take the shot and they find a pocket knife on you. This is the reason why those definitions are important. Any weapon that could cause life-threatening injuries or bodily wounds. So in other words, a pencil. They could start tacking on years if they find a pencil in your pocket or a letter opener in your pocket or anything that could be used as a heavy blunt weapon at the moment you said no. Anything you do, let's say that the president comes out and he passes something through Congress that says community service is compulsory. You're now obliged and you have to take place. If you say no, it is instantly now under this act a felony. Okay, so basically what they're saying is that it is illegal for you to resist in words or action. A lot of people ask me about this particular document, and that is what it's saying. From the moment this document passed into the future, it doesn't just affect territory, dirt, where you actually have to be standing. A lot of people are paranoid about that. Yes, if you go out and you protest, the orderly function of government. Well, the orderly function of government is campaign races. So if you go out and protest a campaign or one of the establishment's men or women who is campaigning to get into office, you have now committed a felony and you can go to prison for it.
I even see it as something as trivial, right? Something trivial as maybe you're going to question or stop a census worker from coming onto your property.
Yes, this is anything that is the reason why I read that specific clause where it says enacts, impedes, or disrupts the orderly conduct of government business or official functions. That means anything the government does. If you attempt to stop the government from collecting taxes for the IRS, that's a felony. If you attempt to stop the government from doing checkpoints, if you attempt to stop the government from doing anything that it deems itself as official business, okay, it is instantaneously a 10-year sentence. This is a catch-all, and it covers, if you read the entire document, it covers both violence and verbal. So there is nothing you can do. And you can't do it in the egress or ingress. In other words, coming into wherever the situation is or leaving the situation. If they say, get out of here, you're not allowed to be here, and you're walking away and you say, you know what, F you, pal. Okay, well, that is your egress. You have made a statement as you egress from the situation. Bam, it's a 10-year felony. And the reason why they're making it felonies is because they then can tell people, well, you don't have the right to vote, you don't have the right to representation, you don't have the right to firearms, you don't have the right to all kinds of things. And people really need to understand that this particular document is now a catch-all. And at any point they want to enforce this, or they, choose to enforce this, they can. And they can selectively enforce because it's really determined by the officers and individuals who are attempting to prosecute you. So you may have one individual who shouts and screams and they say, you leave here or we're going to arrest you, and they leave and they don't get arrested. There could be another individual that they really know and hate, like let's say me, and as I'm leaving, I spit on the sidewalk. Well, instantaneously, they could lock me up for that. It's really at the discretion of the federal agents involved in the situation, and it's not even that. People think that it is somehow, it's somehow some egregious event or you have to go to a protest. No, some idiot at your state capitol could pass a bill or claim in some fashion or another through the APA that your lands have somehow become a habitat for animals.
Right.
If you do not give them your land and give them all of your property, well, guess what? It's a 15-year felony. You're going to prison for 15 years. They are now giving themselves the authority to sentence you for carrying out your rights. And that's a serious problem. And when people look at this, that's why I told people all day long when they were discussing this back and forth with me, this overturns not just the Constitution. It overturns the Declaration of Independence. It overturns the Articles of Confederation. It overturns every single actual piece of legal or lawful, legitimate law that created this nation in the first place. This piece of document alone, it towers above the NDAA. It towers above anything that they want to do. And here's another thing. If you protest illegal detention, if your family member disappears, if they swoop in and they take Charlie away, black bag him, they send him out to Guantanamo and they don't tell anybody, okay? And let's say his girlfriend or his son is old enough or whatever's going on, and they call up and they say, hey, what did you do with my dad? I'm going to the press if you don't bring my dad back. Well, his son just committed a felony because he was disrupting the orderly conduct and business of the government. What is orderly conduct in business? It's whatever the government deems it to be. Yeah. Okay? You have no choice in the matter. All of the rights that you thought you had, I mean, the NDAA and all these things, they definitely did egregious harm to your Constitution and whatnot. However, now that's water under the bridge, really. This is far worse. This is actually in word an overturning of 100 years of law.
But let me ask you this, and I agree with your assessment, but what was added the other day? Maybe you said it and I missed it. What did they change, and how did they change it?
It was the definitions portion. They didn't actually go in and change the document itself. It was the portion where it says that if you're found with deadly weapons, well, they changed the definition of what that means so that it is now at the discretion of a police officer. Like, let's say you're a newscaster, so you have a pencil and a piece of paper, okay, and you're on scene. Well, the pencil can be defined as a deadly weapon if the agent so deems it. Okay, which then adds years to your sentence.
We've seen the same kind of playing with language when it comes to, suspected rabble-rousing or belligerent acting, when it comes to protests or gatherings, women who are carrying a handbag, anybody that has on a coat. It's to the point that this is the ultimate Stasi tactic, right? Stasi police state tactic. Everything's illegal and everybody's watching everybody.
Yes, that's exactly what is going on here. You're moving from and all of this is in preparation as you move into the true police state. It's in preparation for the federalization of all law enforcement.
Oh, terrifying. We're going to continue this conversation in the next hour. Thank you very much, Eric. Lovely. I appreciate you running that first half alone. Eric will be back next Tuesday, and of course again next Thursday. Coming up next, we have Sybil Edmonds. If you haven't heard her story before, don't go anywhere. You're going to want to hear this. We'll be back with Sybil and more White Oak News Radio in just a few minutes. Hang tight.